Hey, welcome back to another Black City Coffee vlog. Today, we're going to look at your roast curve profiles. So I have a couple here, actually. Beep, 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 beep. You guys send me your roast profiles on Instagram. You can DM me at BLK City Coffee, Black City Coffee. I'm also putting together a roast levels kit. Let's learn. I have this little booklet here that I've been working on. It's been really hard actually putting it together and like trying to summarize how I manage heat at the roaster. And I've put together a nice little guide here. I know you can't read that. On the website right now, it's basically you'll get Vietnam green, you'll get roasted Vietnam, and I take you through the levels of how I do it from light, medium to dark. So if you're interested in that, it's on the site. Okay, I'll put a link in the description. And it's about this, it's about managing heat. Now, it's going to be a little different. I'm going to speak from the context of using a 1 kg Mill City roaster, very powerful double wall drum machine. Okay, so I have this here laid out for you. And I know you guys are working on different machines, but when I was learning, I would, and still do, I still read and look at other people's roast theory, working on different machines, see what applies to me, and I go test it and use it and get better. So while I always feel this tinge of like imposter syndrome as I do these, I think they still help in the end. There's like a little Jiminy Cricket on the side going, yeah, but it helps because it helped you. It's just my little disclaimer. Okay, so we have a couple here, okay? For me, I have a regulated propane tank hooked up to my machine here. My max power on my machine is here at 2.5 kPa full power. That's what it is. So I've laid out for myself, like when I was learning how to use my machine, it was good for me to know what 100% was because I have to manually turn the knob versus like say on a hot top, you can just move the slider, right? So I think this will help you when I say full power for me, you do full power for you. All right. And there's also something else to be wary of is that the hot top has like a delay. I don't know how long the seconds delay is. I felt like from what I remember, it was maybe 10 to 15 seconds of delay before I could actually say that when I cranked it to 100, there would be a 10 to 12, 15-second delay before it actually really reached 100% power. So with that delay in mind, which I read about that too, I just had to see in practice while I was roasting what that actually meant for me at the roaster. Okay. I wish I kept all my stuff so that we could speak more one-to-one on stuff, but I thought I just needed to sell it to get this thing, which I really should have just kept it. But okay, so let's get into it. We're gonna start off with I have three, I think, different coffees here. Um, and when you guys give me your profiles, please tell me your name. Even though you have like a cool profile name, maybe sometimes it's not as cool as Balake for Blake. So give me your name so that I can refer to you, okay? If you want. Otherwise, I'll just keep you anonymous, okay? So let's look at this one. So this one I remember, this actually does belong to Blake Balake. This is a robusta, and he's and he's like asking me. I was like, I've never roasted robusta before. I'm trying to get some. I just haven't been very good about going and really searching and like trying to pick one for myself. So this is very interesting. So I guess this craziness going on here is your fuel adjustment. Okay, let's break it down. 34% here, a really long middle phase, and a fairly short compared to the rest of the roast, short third phase. Wow, first crack at 18 minutes. I couldn't really see this on the phone. Like when you guys send me stuff on the phone, it's hard for me to look. And then it doesn't allow you also to like zoom in. So I have to kind of wait till I get here so I can bring it up on the iMac and really see it. Because I have, my eyes aren't that great. All right, you went with a 360 charge. Interesting. Okay. I guess because Robusta I've never roasted it before. Okay, so I'm just going to look at it as, we're going to look at it with turning point at 122. That's good. We're getting our ROR pretty high up there, almost reaching 30. I think that's good. And Robusta from my understanding, again, never roasted before, but they're trying to definitely, um, I think, go for sweeter notes. It's usually in blends, right? It's usually like um, nostalgic coffee flavors and tastes. So this is great. This is good. I think this is a good start. Cranking down the heat already before even hitting dry end. Okay, so this is what I do first. I'm not sure. I don't know if you did this first or if this was your first roast, but I don't decrease the heat until I reach 300 degrees and or dry end. And if I reach 300 degrees first before I reach dry end, I will lower the heat. But usually they're right there neck and neck with each other with my machine, in my experience. Okay. I might hit dry end, looking at the beans visually, waiting for yellow, a little bit later than 300 degrees. It's just something I picked up when I was roasting with Mike, and we were roasting on really similar machines. So I don't know if that translates to a big ass machine or a tiny little machine, but that's what I've been doing. And that helps maintain this heat and I think avoid this crash. You see this crash? Um, but there's this big crash, this dip in your ROR. Okay, so we would call that a valley or a peak, I guess, whatever. Um, and I think that's because you're lowering the heat already here. So if we come back to the first phase, because we need to nail each phase at a time, one phase at a time. That way you're not over here going, well, what the hell am I going to change, right? So we want to go change here first. We want to change what's here first versus going all the way to the end. I mean, you will go all the way to the end, but I'm saying, don't change anything. Change one thing at a time, basically, is what I'm saying. Okay. So I think that's what happened here right away. Now all of this I don't really want to comment on it because we want to nail this part of the roast first, okay? So I think this is great. We're getting up here. Maybe you felt you were gonna peak too much. What is air at? Is this what's air? I wonder what your air is at. I think it's low, right? It should be a low setting. Should be a low setting in the beginning of the phase, in the first phase. Um, okay. So then if we keep the fuel constant here and we don't cut it off, right? This is probably going to climb a little bit for you. But if it does, don't freak out, okay? Because what you're trying to do is get this nice, descending ROR curve, and you won't have all these like this, right? So it's kind of like how I say it, and I say this in my little guide here. I was like, it's kind of like having more fuel to go longer distances. So you need to kind of buffer up, build some fuel, build some energy. That's in the first phase. That way you can make it through the rest of your roast. So here we're kind of going under. So if I was to plot, okay. All right, whatever. So we're going up, right? And then we want to come down like that. Whoa, why did it do that? Just stay. Okay. So yeah, we're going to need more fuel to kind of get more hot, to get higher in the curve, right? To build more energy. And then we want to just slowly drive down. Now, this is not an accurate representation. I'm just trying to show you, you know, visually what we're trying to do. And this is cool because this is exactly what Mike did with me. You know, he's like, yeah, so we just need to, put more fuel in the car so we can drive longer distances. He said that, basically said that. And I was like, okay. And then, yeah, so at 3 minutes or 300 degrees, and we're reaching dry end. Now, if we're not reaching dry end for whatever reason, then we have to dial back and maybe assess, is our batch size too small? Is our charge temp too low? Because if we can't reach dry end at appropriate time, which I would say is maybe at the latest, maybe like 5 minutes, 5:10, like that, like the latest. And then work out this nice, cool middle phase, a good like 4 minutes, and then finish at a good 2 minutes, 2 minutes 30 or something if you're going for like a medium roast. Okay. Did you try this, Blake? Let me know what you tasted. I'm so interested. And I want to pick up some Robusta. I'll look today. I'll try to look today. Today was really exciting. I get to go. We're looking at the city of Rancho Cucamonga now, so we're gonna look at a facility there and see if it's good. I don't like to say anything because I hate getting my hopes up. I'm trying to work on that and try not to take everything be so emotional about stuff, but we're gonna look at a facility today, okay? So that's the Robusta. I think roasting Robusta, roasting Arabica, it kind of looks like, I don't want to say anything because I haven't roasted it yet, but that's what I would do first, okay? That's all I can say. All right, next. Another one from Blake. Okay, let's look at this. This looks pretty good. Charge at 402, turning point 126. RO is nice enough. Okay, this looks great. First phase looks pretty great. Okay, rating dry end. We're lowering the heat at what? You lower the heat when you're probably like, whoa, this is getting really high, so you start lowering the heat. Is that why? First phase, we hit dry end at 444. I think that's good. That's good. Okay, cool. We're continuing along. We're messing with the heat. Okay, so these are, and then we are about to hit first crack, and then it juts on you. Okay, so you're probably freaked out. You lower the heat. Okay, and then you're like, oh my God, it's crashing, so I need to up the heat. Okay, cool. So this is the delay I'm talking about. Okay, if you're on a hot top. Oh no, this is the one that you sent me. Oh, Blake, I'm drinking it. I'm drinking it, and I think it's good. Again, it's just that sort of like in the middle, I think we get it gets away from us. This is so cool. So I'm drinking it and I'm looking at the roast curve. So let's see. The acidity is great, I think, because it's a nice short finish. It's under 2 minute finish, 18%. I can taste that acidity, which I think is good. Drop at 912, yeah. Okay, for you to feel confident, right? Like this looks a little crazy in terms of you feeling confident and having a really good control on your heat. Yeah, I think you can keep this heat, maybe not go so low. You can do this, up and down thing a little bit higher. A little bit higher. Okay. Because you were going very good here, I think. Charge at 402. Okay. With your hot top, I think you have to charge hotter. In general, if somebody has a hot top and they're looking at me and going, how does that theory apply to me as a hot top user? I think because my roaster is very powerful, you guys have to charge hotter because you have a quote unquote weaker machine in terms of fuel output, okay? Because you have an electric coil and you have a delay. So I think this hotter charges that you're reaching with the hot top, I think is correct. Now, managing it throughout. Okay, yeah. So turning it way down to like whatever this is. What is this? This is under 50% fuel. I think you can keep that at this time because you haven't reached a first crack at 730. That's pretty good. I think you can stretch it a little bit more, right? So the standard, right? The standard of first crack is we want to break at least 8 minutes because then we kind of know if we have nailed the first phase that we've got a solid 40% in the middle phase. And I think breaching, like a goal for you is to breach into the 3 minute territory with the middle phase with most of your coffees because then it doesn't it means that, like, I think if you think of it this way, is like the bean is getting roasted a lot more evenly on the inside. That's what I think. And that's kind of how it was explained to me when I was with Mike. When he's like, when you're cooking a steak, you know, you could turn that thing on high and sear the outside, and what happens to the inside? It's raw, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, that's just what we're trying to do here with the coffee, is we're trying to make sure that we don't do that. So, I was like, oh, okay, I guess. Yeah, think of this middle phase as like the inner part of the bean almost. It's not, I don't know if you could say that's true, but I like to think of that visually, because when I'm tasting it, I'm like, huh, it tastes kind of like, what did I say, hollow? But I think for me, the acidity kind of brings me through that. And I think the finish is really nice because you didn't, you know, you didn't finish too long here. And I think this is a nice drop time. So it's just kind of coming back in here and figuring this out. So before hitting first crack, here's what I do, okay? And this, you are doing it, is to come down in your heat a little bit more, maybe down here even. Because think about what's happening to the bean at this time. When you're approaching first crack, it's starting to now reverberate or bounce back, radiate its own heat, the beans itself, right? So they're all now radiating heat. Instead of now it's absorbing heat, absorbing heat, absorbing heat, now it's kind of like bouncing heat back. So now we have to counter that and control it by bringing our heat, our true heat, our external heat, down even more. For example, which I illustrate in my little roast kit here, I like go down to like, I'll give you this example here. I'll go down to like right here. Right? Oh, why does it do that? Oh. Right here. 2%, 3%, something like that, whatever this is right here. I'll get down to here and I'm looking at the flame and I'm like, and I know I'm going to approach first crack. I'm looking at bean temperature. For me, I hit first crack around 375. So as I'm approaching that, maybe I'm at like 360. I'm down here. And I learned this with Mike. It's like we get way down here before we're hitting first crack because of this radiation that happens back from the beans, and this how the ROR can display that it will get away from you like this, right? So I'm way down here. I approach first crack. I hear some outliers start to crank up the air, put the air to high, and then boom, I hit first crack. I hear all the pops. I mark it. And then I turn the heat back up to about 1. So about, what is this, like 30%? Because I want to counter this crash. Okay, so, and you're doing that here. I think this is fine. So it's just this. It's like when you're approaching first crack, it's knowing what to do with your heat. And then when you hit first crack, knowing what to do there. Now that's what I do, okay? Now again, on your machine, in your situation, wherever you live, there's like all these other variables that come in, but that's what I do. So take that roast theory that I've done, or that practice, that's real practice, now put it into effect with your machine and whatever you got going on over there. Figure that, and this is not always true for every coffee, okay? So a lot of times we speak like this, like, it depends. All right, next. All right, this one comes from, I forget your name, but your pictures are very small and I can never really read them on my, it's NDS. You have a 2 kilogram machine from Mill City Roasters. I need to know your name, okay? But this, I can't even read it. This looks great. And I think I told you online, hey, your first phase looks really good. And same thing here, okay? So I just ran through that whole thing talking about approaching first crack and managing your heat. I think you just need to come down a little bit more so you can avoid this craziness. So come down, right? You have a powerful machine too. Come down to like 3, 2% flame, 1%, whatever you need, because you need to pay attention to the ROR curve. You can decide whether to increase or decrease the heat. So here it kind of got away from you. Is this the heat application? I don't know what the heat application is. It doesn't look the same. This is artisan, right? But it doesn't look the same as the other one. I don't use artisan anymore, so I use RoastPath, and that's by Mill City Roasters. Approaching first crack, we need to come down in the heat a little bit more because of this. So you know this already, right? So maybe you can underlay this for yourself, but you need to come down in the heat a little bit more. I think this is all great. And then when you reach first crack or you hear those outliers, turn the air to high, get ready for a little crash. I come to like 1 kPa right here. All right? Because I know if I know it's gonna dip, it's gonna crash like that. Just to give it a little extra, like, so it doesn't lose momentum. And then we'll go throughout, and maybe I'll hit halfway through the third phase, halfway through, and I start decreasing my heat back down. And then so I don't get this weird jutting stuff. Which is this is just basically telling you there's an uneven now roasting that's going on, and definitely you may be dealing with some tipping, like you said in your, you said you're facing some tipping and some facing. Facing is like a scorching of the face of the bean, so where all right, this is the face of the bean, this is the chaff, so facing would mean you got like scorch marks here on the face of the bean, or even on the outside, you can call that. And then tipping would mean you have black little spots right here. So yeah, it's the management of heat right before you're hitting first crack, when you're approaching first crack. I would ask yourself, what temperature do you typically hit a good first crack? Have you roasted a good one before where you're like, yeah, I nailed it. I was in the range. I was in the 8-minute 30 kind of marker. For me, on my machine, it's not 380 or whatever. Sometimes what I was reading in books, like Rao was like, you hit first crack at like 380 or something. I was like, man, I'm hitting mine earlier. And like, that's just what it is. And I confirmed that with Mike, and he's like, yeah, I mean, it's just different machines. Different machines will hit certain things. And it's not even a true, bean temperature of 375, 380. We don't know that exactly. Nobody can probe a bean as it's roasting. So it's really just based on the thermocouples that you have. So with me and the thermocouples that I have, and blah blah blah, I hit first crack around 375-ish, in that range. It's sometimes 373, 376, 379, like that. Okay. So as I approach that number, I'm getting ready. I've got my hand on the dial here on the what do you call it? On the valve. And I'm down here in my fuel sometimes. Okay. And that's how I do it, because I don't soak anymore, and I like to have a little bit more. I guess that's called an aggressive style of roasting if you're not soaking with a smaller machine. But I want more acidity in my cup, and that's how I like my coffee. Yeah, these are so small, but like, yeah, as I'm looking at them, right? Let's break this a little bit bigger. As I'm looking at them, it's just the management of heat. It kind of gets away from you when you approach first crack. So you've got to nail this second phase first. Set me another one. Okay. And it gets pretty crazy going up and down. Okay. And this is maybe because we don't have enough energy to play with. Is this 5, 10, 20? Maybe this is like a 22. You might need a little more. I can't tell what that says. You might need a little bit more energy. Again, I don't know what kind of coffee this is or anything. You can't read it, I can't read it. Okay. Is this, oh, this second crack. Okay. But looks like you're having fun though, because you are roasting a ton. And it is fun, isn't it? I think too what's happening is maybe before you're hitting dry end, before you're hitting 300 degrees, you're also lowering the heat maybe too much to where now you have to catch up. And that's what this is. Because this dip here, whoop, somewhere you lowered the heat. Was it here? Did you lower the heat at turning point? That's what it looks like. Is this heat? This red thing? Try keeping the heat through turning point when you hit 300 degrees and or dry end, yellow, then lower the heat. How much? I lower it by, for me, on my machine, I lower it to about, well, maybe, what is it, 60% maybe. Did I say that in my little guide? Let me make sure. I'm checking this. I say I lower the heat by 50%. Okay. 50%, 60%. It's not going to be a one-to-one for you guys, but you could try that first. And that's only because my machine is very powerful. So maybe you lower yours by 40%. By 40%, not to 40%, okay? That means you land at 60%. That's what I would try. Okay. Those were all your roast curves. Thanks for sending them in. I had a lot of fun. Like this video if you did. Subscribe for more content. We're doing daily content now. Wow. And I'm drinking your coffee. How cool is that? Okay, good things. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.